Jesus loved a good party. He featured parties in some of his stories. Jesus told the story of a wealthy man who planned a banquet, and when the VIPs refused to come, he sent his servants to the first century equivalents of back alleys and homeless camps and crack houses and invited them all to the party. You might also remember that in Jesus' story about the prodigal son, the wandering young man's father threw a party when his boy came home. Furthermore, Jesus was vilified, berated for attending himself a party of sinners at Matthew's house. And Jesus' first miracle was at a party, a wedding party. I'm here in Fayetteville, near Fayetteville, Tennessee, at Notting Hill, a beautiful wedding venue. Imagine this place on a spring day, decorated for a wedding. Imagine the joy and the anticipation. Think about all the memories made here. I'm remembering July the 23rd, 1983. That's the day Carrie and I were married, back when my hair was dark and I had a really groovy mustache. Carrie hasn't changed. July 23rd was the hottest day of 1983 in Gadsden, Alabama. We remember that because the air conditioner broke in the fellowship hall of the 12th Street Baptist Church. That's where our wedding reception was. My mother-in-law was not happy. The heat didn't bother Carrie and me. I do remember sweating, but I thought that just came with being newly married. Why was my mother-in-law so frustrated with the air conditioning? Because she was the mother of the bride. She was the hostess for this crowd who'd come for the celebration. People had driven over from Anniston, my hometown, and all of my mother-in-law's friends were there. She wanted things to be perfect for her only daughter's wedding. When the AC went off, so did she. Which is not completely unlike what happened with Mary and the wedding in a little village not far from Nazareth called Cana. Mary, the mother of Jesus, wasn't the mother of the bride, but it does look like she had some role in hostessing for the event. Some have guessed that she was a relative of the bride, maybe an aunt or at least a close friend of the family. She seems somehow to have felt some responsibility for making sure everyone had a good time. For when the wine ran out, she was concerned. And she had enough authority to tell the helpers what to do. By that time, the party probably had been going on for days. A wedding in Jesus' time was a giant festival that would have lasted for up to a week. Some parents used all their life savings to show everyone a good time. Some of you are thinking, well, things haven't changed. When the cold air ran out at our wedding, my mother-in-law went looking for a minister, someone who could do something, anything to cool things off. When the wine ran out at the wedding in Cana, Mary went looking for Jesus. She wanted Jesus to do what she knew he could do. It's helpful here to remember that Mary knew who Jesus was. She knew his power. She knew his potential. So Mary said, Jesus, we're out of wine. Now, I'm not suggesting Mary simply wanted Jesus to show off, but Jesus had not demonstrated his divine power publicly, you know. And Mary had kept the secret for 30 years. For 3 decades, Mary had listened to other moms brag. My daughter won the spelling bee at Nazareth Elementary School. My son was just crowned homecoming king at Galilee High School. Don't you think Mary sometimes was tempted to proclaim, oh yeah, well my son is God, so how about that? Maybe. Anyway, Mary said to Jesus, the wine has run out. Jesus answered, why bring this to me? My time has not yet come. But then, right then, in that moment, Jesus discerned that Mary's request intersected with His Father's timing and agenda. That, by the way, is when our prayers are answered, when our requests intersect with God's timing and agenda. Are you with me? That's when our prayers are answered, when our requests intersect with God's timing and agenda. This wedding was the occasion when Jesus decided to go public with His ministry, and so Jesus turned the real live water into real live wine, a far greater quality than they had known before. His first miracle. On a side note, this story is not an excuse to abuse alcohol. And I remember the story of a recovering alcoholic who was asked, "Do you believe Jesus really turned water into wine?" The recovering alcoholic answered, "I do. And in my home, He has turned wine into furniture, decent clothes, and food for my children." Of all Jesus' miracles, this one is the most interesting for me. I can understand why He'd heal a blind man, raise a little girl from the dead, and give a leper clear skin. But water to wine, it's a little confusing. At best, it's underwhelming, right? If I had been Jesus, I would have started with something more substantial. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe that was just the point. Maybe Jesus wants us to know He wants to make a difference even in the routine areas of our lives and not just the so-called big stuff. Or maybe it's about turning the ordinary into the extraordinary. Maybe about turning your everyday disappointments and hurts into opportunities for, I don't know, greatness. Of course, Jesus doesn't always turn the water into wine, meaning that Jesus does not always rescue the party when it goes sour. Wouldn't it be wonderful if He did? When we run out of gas on a lonely road, wouldn't it be nice if Jesus would turn air into gasoline? When the MRI shows a spot somewhere, wouldn't it be nice if Jesus would change that bad report into a clean report the next time, confusing the technician and delighting us and our families? But He doesn't always turn the water into wine. The apostles' wine had run out, as it were. He had what he called a thorn in the flesh. We don't know what his difficulty was, but Paul pleaded with God, "God, please take this from me." Instead, God answered, "My grace, my unconditional, undeserved, unlimited, unrelenting love is enough for you." Sometimes God turns water into wine. Sometimes He provides the grace to drink the water, no matter how bitter it is. Arguably, the high point of this story is when it's before Jesus turned the water into wine, before the miracle. Mary turned to the servants and said, "Do whatever He tells you to do." She didn't know what Jesus would do, but she knew that whatever Jesus did would be the right thing, and she trusted Him completely. That is hope. That is faith.
Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart, not be all else to me, save thou art, thou my best thought, by day or by night, waking or sleeping, thy presence my life. Riches I heed not, nor man's empty praise. Thou mine inheritance now and always. You a ruler. You a ruler of all. Heart of my own heart, whatever befall, still be my vision, a ruler of all.
I'm Kristin Prasad, Minister to Kids and Families at First Baptist Huntsville, and I'm here this morning with Mr. Wilbert Brown, who is, he was the assistant and then principal of the Academy for Academics and Arts here in Huntsville for 19 years, so it's quite an accomplishment. And he's also the chair of the foundation that hosts the Martin Luther King Jr. Unity Breakfast. So it's really a pleasure to be here and have the opportunity to talk with you this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's nice to be here, too.
So you were the principal at the Academy for a number of years. Can you tell me about the impact that you feel the Academy has had on generations of Huntsvillians?
Well, being the first magnet school in Huntsville, the students that came out of there were so artistic, so involved in the music, in the drama, in the dance, all of that. And one of our students who went to New York played in Hamilton.
Oh, wow.
Yes, he played Hamilton. He started, I think he was the second Hamilton.
So on Monday, the Martin Luther King Jr. Unity Breakfast is happening, and you're an active part of the foundation that puts that together. Can you tell us a little bit about the breakfast? And unity is obviously so crucial at all times, but especially right now. And how does what's going to happen on Monday?
Well, first of all, the name of it is the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Unity Breakfast. And this is our 36th breakfast. And of course, it's not a real breakfast this year. Unfortunately, we're not able to eat. I think they enjoy the eating as much as the program itself. And we said unity. Dr. King was a person who definitely was one who believed in unity and trying to make sure that people were together and did things together. And Dr. King was a member of my fraternity, a fraternity that I'm in. And we were frightened because after we started looking at this year, well, what are we going to do? How are we going to do that? Mm-hmm. The virtual one. And when we started looking at it and started contacting some of our sponsors who had worked with us, they were so eager to help us with that, because the funds that come from the breakfast help with scholarships. We give scholarships, mentoring, tutoring, leadership programs, and those kind of things that helped with education programs that are for high school seniors and what have you.
Well, perhaps even though it's different this year, the new format will give you the opportunity to reach even more folks. So.
And we are so excited about that, too.
Well, you mentioned leadership, and clearly you are a leader in our community. Can you tell me how your Christian faith impacts your leadership?
Because of my faith, I think. Because of my faith, I just like to do those kinds of things, not just for the educational side, but definitely for the Christian side as well.
Well, you have clearly poured so much into this community, and we're really grateful for your leadership in so many different ways, and pray that all the best for tomorrow's breakfast.
Well, thank you. Thank you. We're looking forward to it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again for being here with us today.
Thank you.
From the love of my own comfort, from the fear of having nothing, a need to be understood, and from a need to be accepted, from the fear of being lonely. Deliver me, oh God. Yes, deliver me, oh God. And I shall not want, I shall not want. When I taste your goodness, I shall not want. When I taste your goodness, I shall not want. From the fear of serving others, from the fear of death or trial, from the fear of humility. Deliver me, oh God. Yes, deliver me, oh God. And I shall not want, no, I shall not want. When I taste your goodness, I shall not want. No, I shall not want. No, I shall not want. When I taste your goodness, I shall not want. When I taste your goodness, I shall not want. No, I shall not want. I shall not want.
And now a reading from the Gospel according to John. On the third day, a wedding took place at Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine was gone, Jesus' mother said to him, "They have no more wine." "Woman, why do you involve me?" Jesus replied. "My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Nearby stood 6 stone water jars, the kind used by the Jews for ceremonial washing, each holding from 20 to 30 gallons. Jesus said to the servants, "Fill the jars with water." So they filled them to the brim. Then he told them, "Now draw out some and take it to the master of the banquet." They did so, and the master of the banquet tasted the water that had been turned into wine. He did not realize where it had come from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew. Then he called the bridegroom aside and said, "Everyone brings out the choice wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much to drink. But you have saved the best till now." What Jesus did here in Cana of Galilee was the first of the signs through which he revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him.
So, Jesus' first miracle was at a party. Tony Campolo, with whom I don't always agree, wrote a book I love titled The Kingdom of God is a Party. The book begins with a story from Honolulu. The story's been told so often by so many, I kind of hate to tell it again, but it's so good. He was speaking in Honolulu, and because of the time difference between the East Coast, where he lives and teaches, and Hawaii, Campolo was wide awake at 3:30 in the morning and walked down to a nearby diner. While he was there, a group of prostitutes, apparently coming straight off the streets, came in. Suddenly, Campolo was surrounded by ladies of the evening. He overheard one of them, whom he had heard called Agnes, say, "Tomorrow is my birthday." Another one of the ladies said, "What do you want? You want me to get you a cake and sing happy birthday?" "Ease up," Agnes said. "I'm just telling you it's my birthday. I've never had a birthday party in my whole life. Why should I have one now?" Campolo registered those words. After the women had left, he asked the cook, "Do they come in here every night?" "Yeah," the cook answered. Campolo said, "What do you say you and I throw a birthday party for Agnes right here tomorrow night?" The crusty cook smiled. He called out to his wife, who was in the back, and told her Campolo's idea. She thought it was a great idea too, so Campolo came back at 2:30 the next morning, and they decorated the diner, complete with a cake that read, "Happy birthday, Agnes." The man and woman in the diner spread the word, and all the other prostitutes got there early. Finally, in walked Agnes with her friend. When Agnes walked in, everyone shouted, "Happy birthday!" She was already about to cry when they brought in the cake with the candles, and she lost it. Harry, the cook, said, "Cut the cake, Agnes. Yo, Agnes, we all want some cake." But Agnes didn't want to cut it. She wanted to keep it. After all, she'd never had one before. Before it was all over, Campolo led in a prayer for Agnes, and when he finished, the cook found out Campolo is a minister. "What kind of church do you belong to, Harry?" the diner guy asked. "I belong to a church that throws birthday parties for prostitutes at 3:30 in the morning," Campolo answered. Harry, the cook, didn't believe him. "There's no church like that," Harry said. "If there was, I'd join it. I'd join a church like that." Is Harry right in saying there's no church like that? Why, I hope not. I think that's the kind of church Jesus would enjoy and Jesus would want us to be. After all, that's what he was like. Jesus extended grace to people with bad track records, and he didn't mind partying with them. Well, we're back where we started, a party. In the 19th chapter of the last book of the Bible, Revelation, we find a beautiful metaphor of heaven, a wedding reception. Blessed are those who are invited to the wedding supper of the Lamb, the Bible says. Come, the Bible says. You and I are invited to the party. And the beautiful thing is that the invitation is based on grace, not what we can bring to the party. If my mom were here, she'd say, "You remember that time?" And I do remember that time. That time when I was having a birthday party in my backyard at 200 East 30th Street in Anniston. Everybody was there except my friend Cindy. Cindy lived 2 doors down, and during the party, she came out in her backyard, looked over and saw a bunch of us in my backyard. She ran over and said, "I forgot the party." "That's okay," my mom overheard me say. "Go home and get your present and come on. Go get your present and come on." My mom never did let me live that down. Jesus doesn't demand that we bring anything to the party. Not a list of good works or letters of recommendation. He simply says, come to the party, just as you are. Jesus' invitation is based on grace. His invitation to the party is based on unconditional, undeserved, unlimited, unrelenting love, not on what we can bring. The invitation is simply to come, just come. Just as I am, an old gospel song says, I come.
Thanks for being with us this morning. I'm John, the minister to young adults at First Baptist Huntsville.
And I'm Kristin, minister to kids and families. We're so glad that you've joined us for TV Church this morning. If you've been touched by our time together, we hope that you'll tell a friend and invite them to check it out too. We like to say that FBC Huntsville is church at the heart of the city with a heart for the region, and we want to provide the Tennessee Valley with the message of Jesus. We'd love to connect with you and help you engage further with the ministries at First Baptist. You can text us at the number below, and we'll pray for you this week and let you know more about the ministries and opportunities here at FBC. How much we connect is entirely up to you. We won't take advantage of any information you share.
Join me now as we close in prayer. Dear Jesus, we thank you for this opportunity to gather together with other seekers and believers across this region, and we ask now that you bless this time as we prepare to go into our week. Help us to carry today's message with us and continue to be challenged by you and your gospel and by taking it with us to those that we encounter. Last week, we began a journey from the day when Jesus invited the first people to follow him to the day when Jesus walked out of his tomb alive. This journey will take us to Easter, and we hope that you will continue to take this journey with us.